So it has been a bit of a wild week with the Pendulum leaks and of course the brand new mini box being leaked yesterday, which I'm recording this video now because I was in the middle of doing it when it leaked and you know how things are. Today I wanted to talk about Pendulum Summoning in Duel Links and how it would work because I've had so many people in the comments of the last video saying, sure it might come, but how? Because there's two different ways it could happen and I think one of them is way more likely and one of them makes way more sense from Konami's perspective, but I feel like they won't do that one. So let's talk about it, let's see what's up, and let me know down below what you think about Arc 5 World Pendulum Summoning, what you think they'll do, and of course, leave a like and subscribe if you do enjoy the content on the channel, much appreciated. Anyway, let's dive right in, roll the intro. So let's have a bit of context about Pendulum Summoning, the two different versions there are. So first of all we have Master Rule 3 introduced back in 2014 I believe it was, and this was when Pendulum first came out. You had two separate zones on either side of the game board, left and right. And it made sense because the whole point of Pendulum is that you're summoning between the two scales, and so them being either side of the board means that your monsters all kind of come in from the sides and they come on the board, and yeah, MR3, the zones are outside. Master Rule 4 comes along and they bring in link monsters and they make some changes with how that works, and the pendulum zones go back into the back row and they take up two of your slots, which means that pendulum decks are now at a disadvantage compared to how they were before. They've lost some of their ability to play generic spell and traps if they want to also have their scales full. What will they do in Duel Links? Well, it's a bit complicated because we have a history of Konami actually liking Master Rule 3, for speed duels. Back in 2016, Konami announced Duel Links as part of a 3-game project with Psycho Card Battle for 3DS and an unknown PC and console game that never came out. I personally think that it got pushed back because Duel Links was so big and it eventually became Master Duel, we'll see that later this year. But this game, Psycho Card Battle, was a speed duel game. It shared many assets, sound files, code, everything with Duel Links. And in that game, you had the pendulum zones on either side of the field. And you might think, okay, that still means they're broken. Like TCG pendulums were really good. And then, yeah, they were really good, but they were only really good because they had so many good cards. And the actual pendulum archetypes were so good compared to, like, everything else at the time, right? Just having pendulums in general, just splashed to a deck, doesn't immediately mean the deck can do some broken things. And in speed duel format, it's very restrictive. Because the 3-card zones, the drawing 4 in your starting hand, the limited extra deck space to go into bigger synchros and exceeds, that all is a main factor in how good pendulums can actually be. And there's also some more things. I've come across some leaked game code from, I think it was Lulu over on the Duel Links Reddit Discord. I did some asking around whether this was actually legit, and some people said it was, some people said it wasn't, so I'm not too sure whether it is, but in some cases people said that this has been in the game files for months. Like, at least Zexal time, like when it first dropped in Duel Links, showing off the position pendulum left and right, and those have the ID attached to it of 10 and 11. And if you look above, we have the position magic and magic end and monster end, and those have 5 spaces between them. Which means that Duel Links technically, on a very low level code base, has some functionality to support 5-zone full format dueling. But they won't go there, They won't turn Duel Links into Master Duel because that would just immediately make their new game irrelevant. But if they were both using the similar code base, then having this in here would make a ton of sense, right? So this would, aside from confirming that, would kind of lead credence to Konami thinking about, at least for a period of time, doing the pendulum zones either side of the field. Which is how it was in the anime, Duel Links is very anime focused, the storylines are from the anime, characters are all from the anime, apart from DM from the manga, but they like heavily relying on the anime. And so doing this would keep it in line with the anime, which would be pretty cool. But now we move over to Master Rule 4, where they put them in the back row, and that makes them weaker. Sure, in Duel Links specifically, a lot weaker because you now have potentially only one back row if you're running 2 scales, but again, pendulum decks aren't good when you just splash pendulums into a random deck. There needs to be some synergy there, and normal pendulum decks aren't really using a lot of their back row anyway. They're using the scales to pop things, search things, summon things out, and they're doing all of that kind of thing. They're not using their back row to have a Karma Cut or a Floodgate face down. But other decks are, right? So having them in the back row won't necessarily harm the pendulum decks as much as you would think it would. Will it harm people putting random pendulums into random decks? Sure, but if they do that, they're idiots anyway. But the bigger thing here is from Yu-Gi-Oh! As a brand perspective. From Konami's POV, they would want you to be able to transfer from Duel Links to the TCG, right? Very easily. They want you to go and play Duel Links and then go, you know what, I enjoy this, I'll go buy some product. They also want you to go from Duel Links to Master Duel, to then go and buy more product in that game that you can't get in Duel Links. And maybe Master Duel to Duel Links, TCG to Duel Links. And so, if you're playing Master Duel and TCG, and both of them are current format, they have the current, rules for Pendulum Summoning in the back row, then there's an immediate disconnect there between players. And Pendulum is already the most complicated mechanic to understand from a casual player's perspective. Link Summoning is also kind of iffy, but Pendulum really does make people struggle for some reason, I don't know why, but it does. And so if you're trying to keep users in the fray and in the game, then you want that to be the same between those experiences. So people that are coming from Duel Links, they know what Pendulum's like in the TCG. Yes, there is a small difference in the TCG because of the Link Zones. You have to summon from your X deck to the Link Zone for the first Pendulum Summon. If you don't have a Link monster, then you can't go from your X deck and spam your field. Right, that's the only real difference there is. I feel like that's the way they should go. They should. Because that makes sense. For the game right now, for the game in the future, it makes sense to start bringing in Master Rule 4 style things. Not the extra monster zone, but just that mechanic of putting them in the back row. And it then quells the fear as well that players have when they see Pendulum and they see how it messed up the TCG and it was, people stopped playing and they were fearful of it. It then kind of quells that fear, because those decks are inherently going to have a disadvantage compared to any other deck that's not playing Pendulum. Also, in Speed Duel's Master Rule 4 rules, which technically exists even though it wasn't an official format used by Konami, but they use it to actually introduce people to the game in Japan, the Pendulum Zones do not exist. They just cut them out, they didn't even move them into the back. They just cut them out. Does that mean we're not getting Pendulum? No, it doesn't. They're going to put Pendulum in Speed Duel, and then eventually they're going to put Link Zones in there, and then Speed Duel and Duel Links are going to become its own format, its own style of Speed Duel. That'd be pretty cool, right? When we get there, we have this board with the two zones in the middle, we have the Pendulum Zones in the back row. Another thing, also actually, it's one I meant to bring up earlier. If you were to play on the phone screen, right, you have the zones to the far left and far right. That is going to be so bloody small. It already kind of is small when you're looking at the top-down view, but having to zoom out even more to actually get those data in that, those zones in view, is going to be even smaller. And if you're in 3D mode, which a lot of casuals play in, you're just not going to be able to see that unless they start scaling things down even more, and then you kind of compromise the integrity of the vision of the game. I do not know where this was going. This was just kind of a discussion about Pendulums, how they could do it. I think they should do the Master Rule 4 implementation just to make things easy for them in the future. They don't have to change much when we go to actual Link Summoning. But I feel like they will do Master Rule 3, because Duel Links is code-based, its DNA is rooted in Master Rule 3 Yu-Gi-Oh! And that's just easier. And then when the time comes for Links to come into the game in 2 years' time or whatever, then you have to go through the whole process of teaching people why this is different now. And by that time, we have a brand new mechanic in the TCG. We might do, we might not. Do you really want to go through the hassle of trying to get people to understand why the Pendulum Zones now move back into the thing and why now things don't work the way you did? Or you could make it a bit simpler, have everyone learn the mechanic as it would be in the TCG, and then just bring in this one tiny little change? I don't know. To me, that just makes the most sense. But that means Konami won't do it. But let me know down below what you think of Pendulum Summoning come to Duel Links and what you think Konami will do, and what one you prefer as well. There's two different questions, isn't it? Is, what do you think they'll do, and what would you prefer? Because some people will prefer to have Master Rule 3, but they should do Master Rule 4. I don't know. Anyways, thanks for watching. I'll see you all in the next Duel Links video, which probably tomorrow will be a Dream Ticket video. If not, it'll be a Primo video. I'm not too sure. Depends if you have Structure Tech leaks or something. I don't know. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you all in the next Duel Links video. See you then.